Hello. Bit of a late night version of Family Bible Time. And I was just looking over this chronological Bible here as I was setting up one of the videos for YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel called Family Bible Time, and I post these readings there also. Once again, there's a commercial coming up here in just a moment. Click right on it and come back. It really is my sincere desire that I'd have but a very serious Bible study here with these readings. I would really like it if folks would comment. We could have conversations even, typing or otherwise. If you've got a way to connect up a webcam or something and make comments, more power to you. I'd like to see what you think. But I've got some questions about some of the things that I've come upon here of why they were changed around. And I can't help but feel like some of it's a little nitpicky. And I really would like to talk to Dr. Reese, who put this together. Also makes me wonder if he had any grief brought about with some of his decisions with changing some things around. That's just a curiosity. And I've always been an advocate of saying there's no wrong way you can read the Bible. I've even suggested at times you can read passages backward. In other words, I don't think it'd make much sense if you read word for word backwards, but you can read a verse and then read the verse above it, and then read the verse above that. And that's actually kind of an interesting way to go about, reading certain passages. I wouldn't say it would work for every passage that you might come across, but here's one that I got a question about that, Dr. Reese, I told him I sent him a friend invite on Facebook. I maybe even could message him with a question like this. But Lord willing, I might even be able to interview the fella at some point. I talked to him the other day and mentioned that idea. But here's, once again, in Genesis 9, he chose to order the passage in this way. Starts with verse 8, and then goes to verse 17, and then starts at the beginning of chapter 9, and then goes up to verse 7. Now, I would think maybe he thought, or, there would be a time reason for that. In other words, like, verse 8 actually happened after, and it would be notated with a date, or I should say, verse 8 started first, obviously, and then you go back to verse 1, which came after it. But I don't see any indication, according to time here, of that being the case. So it just makes me wonder why he decided to flip-flop that section of Scripture. And, I guess to hold with what I've stated in the past, the thing about reading it and there not being any incorrect way to read it, as far as order, because, you don't have to read straight through the Bible. A lot of people seem to have this notion, well, I've got to fight my way through the Old Testament, even though, boy, I have a real hard time understanding it. Then I'll get to the New Testament, and that'll be kind of like dessert. Well, yeah, it would be, but, start with Ephesians, in the New Testament. You don't have to start in any certain place. It just brings glory to the Lord when you read it. And when you start with Ephesians, start with Ephesians 4, You don't have to, start with 1 even. Might not be a bad idea because, God had the writers like Paul lay a certain groundwork. And it'll be interesting when we get to there, if we do, with the chronological Bible. Providing the Lord doesn't come back beforehand. But once again, okay, now here's the deal that I like about it. And I don't want to carry on too long, so this will be it. It makes you consider some things that you never considered before. Like when I put these there on YouTube on the Family Bible Time channel, I actually have a Bible software that I copy and paste, and I try to place it in order as it's been laid out here. So once again, if you go over to Family Bible Time channel on YouTube, you don't have to sign up for YouTube even. You can just find the channel and track down the passage. And once again, this is entitled Part 9, Reese Chronological Bible. But what I was going to say is that it makes you consider. Okay, I wish I had the passage in front of me. I mean, I actually do, but there's something that was stated at the beginning where it says, all right, I'll back up. Okay. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth, and the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, and upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. Now this is where God established once again dominion of man over the animals. But it was also where God put the fear of man into the animals. So that's the reason why animals, we walk outside and there's a deer out there grazing and the deer freaks out and runs. Apparently before this point, animals were much, friendlier to man. It gives me that impression. But nonetheless, it also tells us that, that you could eat of the animals and stuff, which I guess it wouldn't have been a good idea to start chowing down right away, or so much would deplete, really do a good thing for it. I'm so tired. What's the word? Extinction, back then. There's only 2 of each kind, you eat one of them and, hey, the spouse is up a creek. Okay, so, but then after that, in verse 8 through, 17, it talks about the animals, I guess, actually coming out of the ark. So I would think that'd be kind of important, I mean, because the way it's switched around here gives the impression like the animals got out of the ark, and then God put the fear of man in them. I keep wanting to say the fear of God, but I guess it kind of is the fear of God. God put the fear in them against man, though, I mean, maybe they thought, okay, well, see, this is where I have a problem, Sometimes it makes you feel like they're, this is kind of trying to help God out. Like, oh, this really should have been the other way around. But I don't think that's the way Dr. Reese intended it. So, guess I shouldn't speak too freely about these things until I get a chance to ask him. But once again, I think if, God ordained his book to be written in a certain way. God says, I'm going to put the fear of man in them, and then, hey, that would also kind of help us clear in the ark, wouldn't it? I mean, how would it work if you're like, come on, they're all like mules, come on, let's go, come on, get out, they're having a really fight to get them out, but, God puts the fear in the animals, and then it's like, yeah, I said all of that just to say that, really? Alright, so much for the late night notions, but I'd like to know what you think about that too. This is just privy for those of you on live stream. This ain't a YouTube video, so well, I could always make it a YouTube video. Alright, thanks for watching.